Hello my loves, welcome back to my channel and Merry Christmas to everyone. I'm just kidding, I know it's not Christmas, but it feels like Christmas because we did get a crap ton of snow out there. So hashtag me in the comments if you're my fellow Michigan peep, is hashtag Michigander, so that I know who of you out there are feeling the pain with me. We still have shovels on our porch because that's a very Michigan thing to do in March and sometimes April. So hopefully we don't have that this year. So we're on to our fourth project, and this is the sweetest little accordion fold mini flip book. I am using my Woodland, oh, it's upside down, my Woodland paper pad from Park Lane from Joann's to continue on with our challenge for March. This has a lot of room inside for a small mini, so this is going to be a lot of fun to create with. And we have another section in the back, a sneaky section, so you can see just how much space is in here with all these paper layers. It is so nice and thick and sturdy and easy to make. So we're going to be using that paper pad, and I'm going to pair it with some cardstock that is new to me. And this, my friends, was painful to hit the button to purchase this paper. It is an investment. It is, it's not really budget friendly, but it is really excellent quality. I just wanted this color plum to work with for some of my remaining projects because it coordinates so well. And you all know getting supplies at this time is not so easy, but I did find this. I picked this up from Amazon, and it is possible and probable that you could find it at a better value elsewhere. You might even check Hero Arts and find a larger quantity for the same price, but then you'd have to pay shipping. So you have to just kind of determine how that shakes out to get the best value for dollar. But I will recommend this. This is the first time I've had Hero Art cardstock. Oh my stars, it is so thick and lovely, and it's solid core, so there's no trouble with cutting it and showing the edge. I picked up a couple colors because I decided since I was splurging, I might as well try a couple of these more springtime colors, because at some point spring will get here if we're just patient or we move. But anyway, this is really good paper. I recommend it. It's not budget paper, but it is excellent quality. And I will buy it again for special projects, or if I can only find the shade that I'm looking for from Hero Art. So that's just a little bit of a recommendation for you all. But let's just get into that project. So just to show how easy this folio is, I prepared most of the elements yesterday, including the base, which I'll be using when I get to the finishing portion of this project. And then today I cut all the pieces for the tutorial portion so that I can show you the measurements and how they go together. And because my brain was elsewhere this morning, I wound up cutting enough for 2 folios, and I didn't even realize it till I started scoring. So if you can create an extra book without even knowing it, that should indicate to you how easy this is. And so as we do, I'm going to use a combination of 65 and also 110 pound cardstock. They each have a very specific purpose, but the measurements are so simple. So I'm going to have 3 different measurements for this, and the first portion are going to be the 65 pound weight. It is 4 1/4 inches high by 10 1/4 inches wide. I scored it at 5 and 5 1/4, and that's going to leave me pages that are 5 inches wide by 4 1/4 inches tall, and a spine that is 1/4 inch. I'm going to need 3 of these. I also need 3 portions of the 65 pound weight cardstock that are 4 1/4 by 10, scored at 10. So I'll still have the same page size, but this time it's going to be a flap, and so I've got that straight across there. And my third piece is 110-pound cardstock. You definitely want that for the sturdiness of the cover. And these pieces are also 4 1/4 by 10, scored at 5. So this is going to be the front and back cover. I'm going to use a combination of double-sided adhesive tape along with my Tombow because all of these are moving pieces, and to achieve the accordion effect of these pages, I'm going to alternate these 65-pound weight parts that have the spine. I want to have the fold on one side, and then I'll flip that around, adhere the second spine on the right hand side, and then flip that around again and adhere the thicker spine on the left. So it will open once, twice, and then once on the back side. So I'm going to go ahead and add those together now. Okay, so now we've got our accordion fold section done. It will be easier to add the cover now before we put any additional layers in. I've got my tape all the way around, and I'll add my Tombow. This gives me a double layer of the 110-pound cardstock. Here's one more layer of my double-sided adhesive along with the Tombow. And I'm going to position these so that my folded side falls on the right-hand side where it is likely to get the most use from turning the pages. And remember, I want 2 on this side, so I'm going to fold this out so that I can get a better flat surface. And then position this heavier cardstock right along the corner and line it up along both edges so it's nice and straight and square. That adhesive tape will hold it in place while our glue sets up, so we can move on to the back cover. I'm going to do the same process. All of these bendy parts need a little reinforcing. And this time I'm going to bring the book to the cover to make sure that I keep my folded portion on the outside. Line that up on both edges so I know it will be straight, and press that into place. So there is our accordion with our cover. The next pieces are going to be the flips, and we're going to adhere those with the same combination of adhesives. This is the right hand side. I want my flip to open from the center out, so I'll just turn that around and flatten it as best I can and adhere that right along that score line. The hardest part of this is keeping your hands out of the wet adhesive, but it goes along very easily. So each of these pages that open are going to have an additional flip to increase the amount of space we have for finishing. So each one of these sections, we have 3, is going to get the same flip page. Okay, there is our basic folio base. It is so easy and it took relatively little amount of paper. It's still going to be very sturdy because we have a double layer of the 110-pound cardstock on the outside. And now we want to finish this with our paper pad for our March challenge. And basically the thing that you should keep in mind, I think, for this size folio is it is really not going to be a good use for 6x6 paper pads. It is very good use for 12x12 sheets. Another thing that's nice about this is basically it's almost the size of an A2 size card. It's just a little bit short, but that was keeping the cardstock use from creating a lot of offcuts as well, because you can get 4 portions from each page. So here's our base. Now we're gonna get ready to finish it with our collection paper. So here are my 2 bases. This is the one we created today. I'm gonna go ahead and put that one in the bin so that I have a base ready next time I want to create a mini. And actually I'll have 2 because I inadvertently cut enough for 2 today. So this one will go into the stash and we'll go ahead and finish this one. So another thing that I really love about this particular accordion folio is because all the pages are the same size, we're going to get the same measurements to cover the pages with our cardstock and pattern paper. And that means it will go much faster and easier to cut all these pieces. So we have a cardstock measurement of 4 7/8 by 4 1/8, and the pattern paper is 4 3/4 by 4, and that's going to be for all of our pages. So that is definitely going to be making this much faster to finish. And because we open this folio and have all of these showing, I decided to coordinate all of these pages. So that also made it a more frugal use of my paper because I just had to cut into only a few sheets. So I'm pairing that beautiful plum cardstock and the rich tones and the darker background of this pattern. It's very stylized, and so it kind of makes it boho and modern at the same time. I really like that. I'm just using my double-sided tape for these portions because these are not bendy, and so this will also go a little bit faster. I've got these cut so that I keep all of my nice borders, and the white cardstock on the base helps to brighten it all up. You don't have to pick white. You could pick black for this as well, and that would look just as nice, I think. But I didn't have the 2 different weights, and I wanted to make sure that the book was going to function exactly as I wanted it to, so I just used what I had. So here's that first flip, and we want to coordinate this page on the right as well. Sometimes it's easier to flip them out so that you can get them flat on your work surface. So that is our first section, and we'll complete the other 2 sections with that same technique. So that's all of our inside pages. And I am also going to add my back page before I put any of the dimensional items on. And I think you can see, even though I sped up that portion of the tutorial, that I did have to kind of reorient myself with how the pages were going a couple of times, just because there is a definite front and back to these. So take your time and make sure that you know where your pages are folding. So here is the back cover. You can imagine how thick and sturdy this is. So we have four portions that are 65-pound weight and 2 portions that are 110 pounds. So that is a lot of paper layers. And so let's just go ahead and fold this up. You definitely want to add a ribbon closure to this because of the way that everything folds open. And I originally grabbed this beautiful wide check, and I really wanted to put it in, but I second guessed myself because this is not a very tall folio, and I was worried that that bow would be wider. So I decided to go back into the bin of ribbon and find this pretty gold. Has a checkerboard finish, so you get a little bit of a texture. And you do have to add this before the cover. Make sure you have a generous amount for a nice bow. Just fixing this in place before we add our cardstock to sandwich that trim in between the layers. So I'll just begin on my cover here off of the project, because I'm going to bring 2 patterns together to get a little bit more interest in to cover this width and height. So here is that pretty kind of modern looking stylized flower. It did not have enough height to cover the whole amount of the cardstock there, so I decided to join these 2 together. These are kind of neutral, and so it's definitely going to be a nice background for the additional elements that I'm going to add. So this will sandwich that trim and make sure that it is well adhered. I'm going to just go ahead and leave this open as we continue along. It will be easier to work. Now, I don't typically cut my doilies from the cardstock color, but I really felt that because this was such a small surface that I didn't want to try and put a white doily on and then the colored cardstock and then another pattern. So I just went with this one. This is one that I've had for my stash for a bit, and this one was part of a design team package when I worked for Bo Bunny. It is not quite as intricate as some of the other ones, and so this did work well for that very heavy hero art paper. I would not recommend trying to cut anything that's very finely detailed because that paper is thick. So I'm going to add this offset a little bit, and I just put that on with some hot glue. Here is my focal image, and this came from the cut apart sheet. Again, this was part of one of the 4x6 cards, and I just decided to cut this down with a small tagged shaped die that had a stitch edge. I finished it with an eyelet here and some nice thick twine. I put that on a spacer so we can get a little dimension from this, and I'm just going to center this on that doily. I have a small flower arrangement to be in a good scale with this size of book. I paired some flowers here from Little Birdie Craft, and this is a made by me. I had this beautiful kind of, I want to say ochre, is that right? It's not mustard, it's dark yellow, but anyway, kind of gold. So I cut my flower and shaped it, and then I added the gold stamens from Really Reasonable Ribbon, and that finished it off, and it coordinates really nicely with these little birdie craft flowers. So there's just a smaller amount of die cut foliage and then my twine and netting. And now see, this fits really well over here and I'm not overlapping my tag too much. I also considered wrapping my ribbon trim closure around the top to bottom, and so I might try that on one of the other bases that we've created just to see if that makes it more fun. That definitely puts the bow on the front of the folio, so I'm not sure if we would have a lot of room for a focal image, but I think this works pretty well for now. I've got a couple of charms, of course, because I like shiny things. And here's a vintage button because I don't like cut ends of string. So we can fold up this accordion folio and put a nice generous sized bow on the side to tie it up. I'll probably come back in and trim off the excess of that ribbon just a little bit to even it out. So that is our project for day 4. I have added a bit to our sleeve of offcuts, and this time they were nicer, larger pieces. These will be better to work with when we get to our last remaining projects. We have 5 left to get through March, I think. So we'll definitely have to keep an eye on this to utilize for our future projects. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, make sure that you let me know in the comments. Give me a big thumbs up for this tutorial. You can find links for all our social media sites in the description below. And if you're not already, I would love for you to join my crafty little family by hitting that subscribe button and also the bell so you'll be notified every time we add a new video. As always, I'm wishing you a happy and productive day, and thank you so much for watching. Bye.